Hello there. If you are seeing this, you know Hollow Knight. You will probably love the game, and everything I'm about to tell you in this video you probably already know, but I'm still going to tell you because I want to tell you. You already know this video is about the titular Hollow Knight, and why he is my favorite boss in the entire game. Even though it's not really a surprise as to who my favorite is, I still want to go over why I love the Hollow Knight, because I think there's a lot of reasons that make up why I like him so much, as there's a lot of really good bosses in Hollow Knight. You could say that almost all of them are good, but, there's a few bad ones, but I would argue that most of the bosses in the game are good and eligible to be your favorite. So why would I pick the basic-ass, standard final boss? Why would I pick him? And for the sake of time, I'm not going to tell you yet. We're going to go in sections so you watch the video, because I'm a YouTuber. We love retention and views. And let's start with the most basic category for what we can judge the Hollow Knight on, that being the story, what he does in the story, his purpose, and his character. Now, before we get into the actual story of the Hollow Knight, I want to disclaim that the story I'm going to explain to you all is the story that I interpreted from a mix of YouTube videos that I saw and my understanding of what I found in the game, so I could be totally wrong. But that's okay, because I still think that makes my opinion valid. It's what I got out of the story that makes me like him. Maybe I'm off at a couple details, but I still think my opinion is valid in this way. Just letting you know. So from what I understand, the Pale King is like Britain colonizing basically all of Hollow Nest. And they eventually pissed off a moth god, who's ironically a giant light, and eventually that comes back to bite the Pale King in the ass, because the radiance starts to infect all of Hollow Nest. Now, to combat this, I believe the Pale King started creating vessels without a mind to hold the radiance and the infection, as without a mind, the radiance can't corrupt the vessel, therefore it'll be sealed away. And the Hollow Knight is supposed to be the perfect, unthinking, unfeeling vessel for said infection, but somewhere along the line, he feels love and affection from the Pale King himself. Perhaps it's at the scene where we see the Hollow Knight during a flashback. I can't remember where in the game it is, but you're climbing up the abyss, and you see the Pale King and what looks to be a much younger version of the Hollow Knight. I believe that could be where he had this moment of love or kindness or whatever, but regardless, it happened. It's a moment that existed for him. This wanting to be the perfect son for the Pale King is the reason why he ultimately could not be the perfect son, ironically enough. But having a character that is so dedicated and so invested in being a sacrifice for the kingdom and its king is so investing to me. I feel so strange seeing someone who is so dedicated to a cause where they would sacrifice their entire life and being just to please their people, their kingdom, their king, as I said. And maybe I'm biased for a character like this, but I can't help it. I find very interesting just having that mental power, that will to do this. I mean, I get so invested whenever a character like this appears, and the Hollow Knight does more than just that, really. The characterization and story around the Hollow Knight is obviously really important to my enjoyment of him, but even outside of that, I find a great amount of love for him. So I'm going to move on to his design next, since I'm very inadequate at explaining the story, and you've probably heard it 300 times before. Now, I love the Hollow Knight's design in both of his forms, that being the Hollow Knight and the Pure Vessel, but for this video, I'm mainly going to be looking at the Pure Vessel's design as same character, but it's the reason I'm making this video, so you deal with it. When you actually look at the Hollow Knight, the mask is the first thing that catches your eye. The sheer size of the mask is already intimidating. It's probably double the size of our knight, and its design being like a V with like spikes along the inside, I think adds to it a lot. But I mean, the sheer size is just, most of the enemies are bigger than you in the game, but like having just his horns be longer than you is just kind of terrifying to think about. Although it's just for a brief moment, I also really enjoy the armor he has on. It makes him look like one of those pale constructs in the White Palace. It makes sense, as he's technically the prince of Hollow Nest, so it wouldn't be surprising for him to have, ornate armor like they do. But he unfortunately sheds it at the start of the battle and just has his cloak. I think it's a good look for him. It makes him look intimidating as it kind of flows in the wind of, a cave, which doesn't make sense, but it looks cool, so it gets a pass. Another thing I really like about his design is, if you look carefully around his legs, you'll notice that his kneecaps look almost skeletal, which I'm not sure if there is a bug inspiration for the vessels, as our knight doesn't really seem like one, or a bug really, and the Hollow Knight definitely doesn't look like one, at least not any that I know. Maybe a beetle, but I think he looks very skeletal. His kneecaps look almost like bones, and where his hip meets his leg almost looks like a femur or some kind of type of bone, and I find it captivating for some reason. Almost paradoxical, but I'm not sure why, but I really do enjoy it. And I really enjoy that he swings around his sword in an almost a paradoxical way, as he's swinging it around rampantly, but he also uses these complicated magical spells that are very, purposeful and skillful, while he just kind of flails around with his nail. And then he also does, a parry. So, he's clearly skilled with a nail, but it's almost like he's choosing to just kind of swing it around just because he doesn't take you serious. And I kind of like that for his, characterization in the game. His design, in my opinion, is up there with Grimm, Nightmare King Grimm, and the Radiance. I think all three of these are probably the best in the game. Maybe apart from the Knight, because the Knight has a really good design, but I think the Hollow Knight is my favorite, regardless of the Knight anyway. Kind of confusing, huh? But you know what I mean. I really enjoy everything about him, and that segues well into my third segment, the fight itself. The most important part, in my opinion, because it kicked my ass for probably 3 hours. I know, I'm really bad at this game, okay? I get it. A bit of personal context to this fight. When I first fought the Hollow Knight in the base game, before going on to the Pure Vessel and all of Godhome, I fought the Knight with a fully upgraded nail, and I believe almost every mask in the game. And I kind of tore through him. On screen right now is a practice attempt I had against him for Pure Vessel, because, embarrassing as it is, I couldn't figure out where Godhome's, the Hall of the Gods were. So I just put on really shitty charms and fought the base Hollow Knight. But if you've ever fought Pure Vessel, or if you have eyes, you can see that the Pure Vessel makes the Hollow Knight look like it's fucking dying, which, I mean, technically he is, but it is such an insane difference in speed. It is so much faster. In fact, it's probably around the same speed increase as Grimm to Nightmare King Grimm. And that fight also beat my ass for a while, so going to this was, a real fun treat. So, regardless of my personal experience going into this fight without, any experience, it's an amazing fight. I knew it from the beginning. Well, as soon as I got my ass handed to me. I'll put the first attempt I had on him, up right now. But you'll see that I died pretty quickly, but he's really a simple fight once you, actually start understanding his moves. And you can say that for every knight in Hollow Knight. For example, Nightmare King Grimm has, I think, 4 or 5 moves. The Hollow Knight has 4 or 5 as well. Pure Vessel, I think, has 6, maybe 7, I'm not sure, but some of those attacks are very, specific to times, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, every boss in this game has very strict patterns, very simple moves that pair with other simple moves to make very complicated attack patterns. And that this is no more clear than here, in my opinion. Fighting the Pure Vessel made me feel that there was no safe opportunity to attack. There was no safe moment to heal. There was just no safety from the Pure Vessel, as he was going to tear me apart, limb by limb, and take all of my Geo. And that was an amazing experience. I loved it. It got my heart pounding, and it made me more and more dedicated to finally overcome
and beat the bitch.
And my favorite detail of the fight is the beginning, where he stands there in his armor, as I mentioned earlier, and he, snaps out of it. But then he goes to turn to the knight, and he lets out a scream. Now, in the base game, it is a screech, because, he's infected and all that. But in the pure vessel fight, it is harmonic, it is angelic, it is a beautiful, beautiful sounding voice. I'll play it here. And for me, it's just really amazing that there's such a beautiful voice where there's such a terrifying looking enemy, so, angry and aggressive. He has such a beautiful voice. Now, you could totally say that this isn't the Hollow Knight. That's not his voice. But I think it's up to interpretation, and I interpret it as him. That's his voice. It's pure, it's holy, divine, kind of like his moveset compared to the old Hollow Knight, where he had infection attacks there. He has a bunch of holy magic. So some of his basic attacks are just him swinging his sword around, a dash, a parry, some pretty basic stuff. But then he also has a replacement for the infected beams in the Hollow Knight fight. Instead, he has a bunch of swords come out from the ground. He has basically like bombs appear out of like his white magic, and he actually has like an attack with his vessel or abyss body. And I think they're all really fun and cool attacks. And much like every other boss in Hollow Knight, once all the attacks combine and play off each other, it's just an amazing fight. They work in harmony together. They're just amazing. And it's a rhythmic fight, kind of like Grimm. I'd say Grimm's is more rhythmic, but I personally enjoy this one more. I think this one's more of a duel rather than Grimm's performative battle, which is perfectly fine. Both fights are great. I keep bringing up Grimm because I think he's the fan favorite. Because, why wouldn't he be? He gives off, like, the fandom's favorite vibe, just from him being around. He's super edgy, and everybody loves that, and you know what? I like him too. He's just not my favorite, because I'm not basic like you. The Hollow Knight is going to be my favorite fight in Hollow Knight, no matter what. It will always be my favorite character, favorite fight, favorite design. Everything about that fight is amazing to me, except for the fact where it beat my ass, which, sounds like a skill issue, and that's true. I think it's just a great display of Team Cherry's mastery over boss fights, mastery over character design, and weaving the story and a fight into one. Well, that's more the Hollow Knight, but whatever. Pretend we were talking about Hollow Knight and not Pure Vessel mostly, okay? And I've really just made this video because, one, I played Hollow Knight and I really like it, but two, whenever I watch any Hollow Knight media, I never see the Hollow Knight get his flowers. He never gets the praise he deserves. Praise I believe he deserves. It's always, oh yeah, he's the final fight. He's the final fight. He's alright. He's fine. Yeah, he's pretty good. No one, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that the Hollow Knight is their favorite fight. And that's a shame, because he's mine. And I wanted all the other Hollow Knight fans to know, there's a person who likes him. And I wanted to give them a video so I could leech off their views and attention, But that is everything I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. I kind of fell into the pit of Hollow Knight and my obsession with it. So if you would like to see more Hollow Knight content, be it gameplay, challenges, whatever, just leave a comment and I would love to do a video on it, okay? And if you have any other video ideas, I would love to hear them. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I'm probably going to make a video, trying not to jinx myself here, but I'm going to make a video, I think, on my schedule, my planned schedule, because I want to start releasing a video every Friday, because, once a week, one video a week seems pretty good, because we want to hit a soft goal of getting monetized, not for money. Well, yes, for money, but It's not like I make much. It's more just a soft goal for me to hit that's semi-reasonable. And because I want to keep creating for you all. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you today. I'll see you next week.